Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I welcome Dr. Vidur Sahgal, and he will talk about One Village Private Company, One Farm. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Good day, actually. My name is Dr. Vidur Sahgal. I have concocted this visionary farm uh, about putting together all the fragmented pieces now left of farms which were once big and huge farms managed by jamindars, but politically broken into small farms. This is a chance to get those farms back into consolidating them and uh, based on how much land is owned now by individual owners and um, uh, 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 also based on how much the soil fertility is or the location of the land is. And based on these 3, 4 parameters, each landowner is given a share in the One Village Private Company. And the entire land is consolidated into one farm, whether it's a 1 hectare piece, 1 acre piece, or whether it's a 20 hectare piece. And everyone is given equity in the farm. So, excuse me, please, someone. And everyone is given equity in the private company, even if it is one share, one equity share, so that there is dignity of labor. And these equity shares are given to all villagers who work in the company. And if they do not work and are given permission by the Pradhan to go outside the village to work in cities or urban areas, and if they're given permission to go to urban areas to work, then I mean, they should be given equity, even if it is one equity share, because he's a villager. And you can see it's rural, village based activity, high population, the current situation, low mechanization, labor intensive agriculture, high mechanization outside developed countries, low population density, higher productivity, villages feed nations, national security, how to quickly and effectively transform villages. So, where I derived this concept was from tea plantations, having worked in a tea plantation under my dad, who was also a tea planter in Assam. This is about 20, 30 years ago. Now, tea estates are amongst the oldest organized, they are the oldest organized agro enterprises since the 1830s, unless you go back to the days of the Vedas when there were ashrams run by gurus. But that is a long time ago, and I don't think we have any of those ashrams still running. But it would be interesting if we could figure out some areas which are still running as, guru-run ashrams. But these tea gardens are, if you're in the south or if you're in the eastern part of India, you know what tea estates are. So I won't go into uh, uh, describing what the blueprint is about, because it's, they're highlighted in the slide. But I will mention one thing. The only difference is that the tea plantation has one or two or three, four owners, whereas the OVPCOF has the entire villager as owners as well as their employees, who are owners also. So other similar options are the kibbutz from Israel. You might have heard of that. And the ITC e-chopper. These offer lessons in community governments, but I don't think they really give that much to the farmer as, even they definitely give more to the farmer than what the local munshi or banya used to give to the farmer, because he used to have the phone and he'd know where the prices were highest. But here, instead of the phone, it's the IETC e-chopper. So I don't think the e-chopper really did justice to the farmers. And the kibbutz had one good point, and that was that normally kibbutz were also within their premises had a factory of some kind or the other. I mean, I visited a kibbutz in Israel. It was the Palram factory kibbutz. I mean, they had a village kitchen. The food was amazing. And they used to manufacture specialized plastics. So I had suggested that they should manufacture water tank covers, which would keep them from evaporating and would allow airflow so as to keep the oxygen intact in the water and to rear fish in them. So I think they did use that. So I don't know. It was basically about for fishing, in freshwater fishing in tanks like in Bengal and all that, and other areas in the country also. However, that time we had also suggested onshore tanks in the ocean itself, wherever the environment allowed that to be conveniently located, instead of investing in a fishing boat. But as the slide shows, the various agricultural models compared with the OVPCOF overview, and why OVPCOF goes beyond existing models. It's like village-led private company. It's a professional company, maybe a special purpose private company, and it is run by a board of directors. They have a CEO, they have different executives handling different functions. They have engineers, they have agriculturalists, they have mechanics, they have a computer department, they have a lab where they can do their own research, and they are, supported financially by NABARD, which has given funding by planned and organized deficit spending central bank digital currency, and on the offtake bit, they should be supported by FCI for any and every crop. And the main thing that it does is that because it's a professional environment, it removes caste and religion friction. It's a modern corporate work culture in villages. And mostly it takes care of the professional outlook towards business from the company towards outside the village, wherever it is, whoever the buyers are, they have more leverage as a village. They have information, their own information about which market they can send their produce to. Besides, they have FCI, which will provide at the village gate money via their e-wallets. And these are some of the legacy model strengths and limitations which you can go through. Just keep this slide for a little long because it's quite a lot of reading. But at the same time, the leverage can also result in branding. Your village could become famous for a particular vegetable, fruit, grain, pulse, and once FCI determines the MSP of every agro or agricultural product, which will be scientifically derived from which we are doing research on, by the way, and we'll present it sometime end of next year because it's very laborious finding the data, collating the data and all that. But it is basically taking the PPP prices of different countries which grow a particular crop and taking the average mean price of that and arriving at the MSP in INR, for example, and then comparing that with the MSP here. So, for example, we found that where rice was concerned, the wheat or rice?
Rice.
23.69 and
Yeah.
71.41. Huh?
Exactly.
So for rice, the MSP which the government gave was 23 rupees 69 paisa, but the mean price that we found was 71 rupees 41 paisa, using the US dollar as the benchmark. So there was a 50 rupee gap in the MSP scientifically derived and in the MSP, which would have been about, it was 50% added to your costings. So that is no way of determining a price. But what we are talking about is averaging the mean price of all the countries or economies that grow rice. And once we have the average, that should be the MSP based on a scientific, globally designed pricing model. So that is out of the bag now, and we will be pretty much it'll be in a paper in about, I think, 6 months. We've only completed 3 or 4 commodities yet, rice, wheat, and maize. And we have to do about 6 or 7 commodities yet, more. But we have to do some other items also. So basically, there is a scientific way of determining prices in the Indian economy to begin with. And once the FCI people come to the village gate, they check the packaging, the quality, the quantity, the branding, and the MSP has been determined prior to their arriving. So every farmer or every villager knows what price they will be given for their produce. So when everything is checked and ready to be loaded onto their trucks, which will go direct to the consumers. To the consumers via the petrol pumps, which now have been displaced from supplying diesel and petrol, but instead are now battery charge or battery replacement stations, and also vegetable and fruit produce and storage areas. And from there, they can be delivered at home using e-vehicles. And that's how it will get right from the farmer using FCI transport, or those same trucks which used to develop diesel and petrol would carry the veggies, which could be, by the way, packaged also in different package denominations, and the villagers would be paid by the Munshi of FCI directly to villagers' accounts who are employees, and directly to the farmers who are owners, and not only in digital cash or digital currency, but the farmers or the board of directors would see to it that the produce is also distributed in kind also, so that the entire village gets both digital currency and in kind. And one thing which will be there is that the village must have a 24-hour kitchen. And one thing I picked up from the kibbutz was that food was excellent. But the way they made it excellent was that every month, one family ran the kitchen. It used to be 24 hours. And at the end of 12 months, one family would be chosen as the winner of the prize that got the best kitchen award. So that had every family vying for the best kitchen award, and the best food award, and the best dish award. So it played wonders with the ladies and the cooks and the gents who would cook, and the service that the family would provide for their own villagers. And of course, the food was very, very delicious. Now, the land holdings are so small that it is difficult to get people motivated to till their land. We are recommending that these consolidated farms are not given seeds, but rather given seasonal seedlings grown in greenhouses which are connected to the Indian water pipeline, the Indian national water pipeline grid, which will direct agricultural water besides other kinds of water, edible, for washing animals and utensils, and then sewage, and then floodwater control pipes. So they will get agricultural water, which could be mixed with biofertilizers, and this water will be connected to greenhouses, which would further be connected to drip irrigation systems. I call this plastic agriculture, biodegradable plastic agriculture. And there's a reason for this. I'll tell you in a short while. So these greenhouses will grow 5-6 inch long seedlings, which will be distributed by the ministry free of cost instead of seeds. And these seedlings will be planted and nurtured by the farmers. And just like if you're familiar with tea plantations, inspections used to be taken on new plantings, right from sowing to when the plants were ready to leave, or to be able to be, you could start plucking leaves. Such practices would be done where inter-village elderly inspectors appointed by the Agricultural Research Center would be appointed, and they would come to the village. They would be hosted for a lunch and a tea, and they would inspect the seedlings and see how they are being nurtured and grown. And they would do so all the way to harvest. And, all farmers would be given grants, which would be controlled by QQP criteria, meaning quality, quantity, and personnel criteria. If you met these three criteria, then your grant would be forgiven. But if you did not, your grant would be running still, but these grants would hold 0% interest. Anytime you fell short of your QQP parameters, the grant would come up. And if you had a bad season, no problems. There would be no interest. The grant would be there on the books, but there would be no pressure that you have to of interest or you have to pay back. The grant would be there. But if you had a good harvest, you'd be able to pay back on a good harvest, you would be getting a scientifically derived price, which would be much higher than what you're getting. Because of that, you would be able to pay a labor a higher price, a higher salary. So, I mean, everybody would be prosperous. And because one would be prosperous, one would be motivated to grow more, to increase productivity. And based on all this, these are the policy recommendations. We would recommend also that initially equipment, machinery, and computers and all relevant farming equipment and biofertilizers must be provided. There's no room for chemical fertilizers. However, the reason I'm talking about plastic or agroplastics is that refineries, oil refineries, can change over from processing or producing diesel, petrol, and kerosene, except for lubricants and bitumen. They should be either if they can do the research and form biochemicals or biofertilizers, they can do that. But they should start producing this plastics, biodegradable plastics, which will be utilized in creating these greenhouses, these drip irrigation systems, and most importantly of all, these 2-3 feet diameter pipelines of heavy duty plastics, which will be powered by solar powered pumps in the day and solar powered charged batteries during the night. All this will be connected to mainframes and satellites so that areas of short water supply will pump the water to areas of low water supply, and rivers will not be allowed to flow into the sea if environmental clearances are given. And why should we lose topsoil to the sea when it serves no purpose there? So the water has to be caught before it flows into the sea, and whenever a flood situation arises, the orange pipeline will pump that water 100 miles away or 200 miles away and pumped into the groundwater to be utilized someday in the future. So all this is there with the OBPC, OF. It's up to the owners of land, agricultural land, to take this forward. And we are just suggesting this. It is a very good model that will help all people in the agricultural sector. And remember, every city was a village once upon a time, even Delhi or even Bangalore. It started from a village and now has become big metros. So thank you very much, agricultureinformation.com. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. I will take a few questions from the participants, sir. Okay.
You're most welcome to.
Okay. The first question is, what role do farmers play within the company? Are they shareholders, employees, or partners?
They are both shareholders, or you can say owners of themselves, and as well as employees and owners of their land, if they have any.
Okay. How is the decision making carried out within the OVPC?
Yeah, the OVPC is separate from the panchayat. The OVPC is run in a corporate manner, a consolidated company, private company with professionals, and the panchayat runs the non-commercial and economic activity, the welfare, the social, the schooling, the education, the kitchen, and the corporate company provides the panchayat the money for all its expenses in these social or non-economic and commercial activities, including the kitchen.
Okay. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir. Including?
Including the kitchen. They provide the money for running the kitchen also.
Okay. Sir, before I move on to the next question, I would request Ms. Kushi to stop sharing the screen, sir, so that I can see your full video. Yes, ma'am. Can you please stop sharing the screen?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you just slightly move, sir? You can come to the center of the screen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I'll take up the next question now. What governance mechanism ensure transparency and fairness among farmers?
It basically depends on the board of directors and the professionals they hire. If the professionals that are hired are from the village itself, who are sponsored for their studies within village colleges, if there are some in the nearby, or who want to go out and study in the cities, or if the villages are bigger and prosperous, want to go out and study overseas and come back. All these things can be taken place. And if why does a villager have to go to a city to be a CEO or a director or a manager or a general manager? He can be one in his own village, private company. So villagers will be given the opportunity to study in cities and then come back to the village and be a director or a manager and enjoy the same level of interaction and life as he would have in a corporate that he would have worked in the city.
Okay. What revenue models can
What revenue models?
Sir, I'll take up the next question. What revenue models can an OVPC adopt to ensure sustainability and profitability?
Okay. Uh, the revenue models see, the point is, it's planned and organized deficit spending. I mean, it doesn't matter if there's a loss by the government in producing enough food, enough nutritious food for everyone to eat. Because at the end of the day, if there's enough food being produced for everyone to eat, nutritious food, I'm saying, not dal rice, okay? Nutritious food. Because once everyone starts with a full stomach, they will be energized to work, to study, to create, to think, but if you have to put colleges, labs, equipment near them, near the villages. Let them make their own machines. Let them patent those, at least in India. You have to be able to give as much CBDC as you can, central bank digital currency, to meet the aspirations. You think they are just machines to grow food? Do you know how hot it gets there in the day while they're working on the fields? Do you know how cold it gets there, out there in the fields? So, if you motivate them with the right amount of money, and see, digital currency, there's no shortage of. You just type in the amount you want and make sure enough produce is made. Because if the quantity factor is not met, then the grant remains liable. But if the quantity matter is made or grown, then the grant matter disappears, is credited away. So people will be motivated to grow and not sit back, because they will be being paid what they want. The average farm size we calculated was 0.96 hectares for an average family size of about 5.5. These are alarming numbers. And, the Prime Minister gives free food to everybody, which is wheat and rice and lentils at the most. But then he says, I don't have to create a job because I'm giving them food. And that's what they work for. And the system that he's following is the IMF World Bank system. The Chinese system is the same. But the only difference is that the institutes and banks are Chinese. I'm offering the pod CBDC system, which can be done. You don't need US dollars or Chinese yuan to grow rice and wheat in India.
Okay.
Until now, we haven't been able to make our own chip. On
Okay.
our own, huh? And computers have been around since 1985. There are companies like Infosys, HCL, TCS, and which ones? What are the other ones? So many companies, but none of them have put any money into making chips or
Okay.
semiconductors. Anyway, but the revenue model, there's no shortage of money for agriculture. There is
Okay.
nothing to worry if you have CBDC.
Okay. Sir, what scale of investment is typically required to establish an OVPC?
It depends how big the village is. We can do this study. I mean, my company has been formed. We can do this study. We have been looking around for funds to do this study. It depends on the size of the village. If this data is already being collected, then there are many companies like my company which can be funded to do this study for the government of India or the governments of India, because there are many state governments. And these studies can be undertaken depending on the village size, the number of villagers, the amount of land, the soil, fertility, the number of working villagers, the number of elderly villagers, the number of children villagers. All this can be done. I mean, if you can build smart cities, you can build smart farms.
Okay. What branding or value addition opportunities can emerge from village level unified farming?
Ma'am, we already have Chikmagalur coffee. We already have Darjeeling tea. We already have basmati rice. I mean, the sky's the limit. Any village which wants to put its produce on the map of India first and on the map of the world next is more than welcome to do its research on its own and sell in whoever provides the highest price. I mean, tea is like that. It goes to the highest bidder in the auctions, and international buyers come to the auctions or have their brokers at the auctions.
Okay, I'll take up the next question, sir. How can issues of land ownership, leasing, and legal compliances be handled?
Yeah, we have now blockchain land records. So all owners of land should feel secure about that. And especially their descendants and everybody. There should be no problem.
Okay. What are the major challenges in convincing farmers to pool or consolidate their land?
It's a mindset. It's a mindset which has religion, caste, and the elitism, which money levels or income levels, or the he's not of my income level or my money level. He's poor, he's rich, he's middle class, these sort of divisions. No one says he's from my village. If he's a poor man and you're a rich man, you will not acknowledge the poor man as your fellow villager. There are these divisions, there are material divisions.
Okay. What government schemes or policies support this type of collective farming company setup?
Right now, we only have corporate farming, which don't give farmers a good deal. And it's the big corporates which are moving in. Typical of the US economy. In the US economy, it's slightly different because the farms are really big and they're totally mechanized and run by a few people. I mean, their villages barely have any population. But remember, I used the word consolidated farming, not communal farming or cooperative farming. I have not used all those words, those communistic words. I'm using consolidated farming. And see, one side of the capitalist coin is to maximize profit. My side of the capitalist coin is to maximize deficits as long as demand and supply are balanced.
Okay.
I don't want to send avocados
Sir, slightly, sir, can you just move, sir? You've gone away from the camera.
Yeah. I don't want to send avocados to Singapore. I want to say, Singapore, you want to eat Indian avocados, you should come to this particular village which grows the best avocados in the world and eat it in that dhaba.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we would like to thank Dr. Vidur Sahgal for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting will now be closed.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir.